You ever been walking through the Navy Exchange and wonder why all the Naval Pride and Heritage gear is horrifically ugly and you wouldn't actually wear it? Have you ever wanted some really cool gear and you just don't know where to go? Well, I got you, fam. Go to dgutspodcast.com immediately. Get yourself some Naval Pride and Heritage gear you'll actually wear in public. We're working on new designs all the time, open to ideas. We're trying to create a brand that lets you display that pride, but doesn't make you cringe. Also, if you're willing to and you're able to, please go to patreon.com/dgutspodcast, pick one of the 5 tiers, and become a patron today. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Don't Give Up the Ship Podcast, episode 142. Today, I'm talking to my dude, Patrick. He's a retired chief that... he's got an interesting career arc. Like, he was an Army tanker before, I think he said he joined in the late 90s, got out for a while and then joined the Navy doing aviation things. Did an entire career, retired at about 21, talks about mental health struggles, talks about a medboard after 20 years. So like he had the mental health issues at the end that led to a medboard, but interesting story, and a lot of it kind of orbited around making chief late in his career and the subsequent experience of that, which you'll understand the episode title when we get into it, and it's a direct reference to, I think it's actually something his wife said about the chief season, how it unfolded, and just how they treated him, and his interactions with the Chiefs mess, and kind of how he's reconciled those things with time after kind of processing all the experiences and stuff. So yeah, like, had a great time talking to him. This was a fun one. I enjoy learning about people's careers and experiences in retrospect, because you get time to think about them and kind of analyze them, pull the lesson learned from them. You're coming at it through a lens of maturity and kind of like a peace with some of the stuff. Hopefully, I mean, if you've gotten to a point where you've processed it all and everything, but because you can kind of look back and some of the negativity fades away with time. I mean, it's happened for me too with my experiences while I was in with certain people or just certain places and times where it got weird. It's like looking back, it's kind of like you can forgive to an extent some people's behaviors just because of the context of what drove that behavior and everything else. But interesting episode. Had a great time talking to him, and I hope you all enjoy this. Check it out. Yeah, man. So like I said, just jump right in. We'll do your background. Just provide as much detail as you want about, like, you're not obviously concerned about your identity and shit because you're retired, but yeah, man, just like from start to finish, and you don't have to go into graphic detail, but just let everybody know your background and what you're doing here, and then we'll go from there, man.
Yeah. Well, of course, I'm Patrick Hilton, spelled funny, with a Y instead of an I. Get that all the time. But yeah. I'm originally from Michigan, so go blue. We've already talked about this.
Yeah,
so.
Same. Except Sparty, but we'll be fine.
Yeah. We'll be nice as long as you're not from Ohio. We're good.
No.
So I retired Navy, of course, as you can see, but yeah. I did a tour in the Army before I joined the Navy. So I joined straight out of high school in '95 with the Army. Damn. And then I'm a little on the older side. Right. But that's okay. So I did a tour with the Army. I was stationed in 2nd Battalion, 72nd Armor in South Korea. I did a year over there. So that was kind of a little bit wild because that was still
it's a weird first duty station, man. That's like a whole bunch of it. You're adjusting to the culture shock of the Army and then adjusting to, holy shit, I live in Korea.
Yeah, about 12 miles from the DMZ. So that was quite interesting. And then after that, I went to Fort Knox. So I went back to where I went back to boot camp.
All right.
But this time I was on kind of...
Is there gold there? Is it real? Is it all a myth?
I don't know. I can tell you this much, that
I don't think anybody knows.
No, those that do ain't telling.
Yeah.
No, but so I stopped one time. I went to take a picture, and these four Humvees pulled up.
All right.
And then there was a speaker, and they're like, "Get the fuck away!" And I'm like,
So something.
Okay.
Maybe there's aliens or something. I don't know. It's all good.
No, and then after that, I was out almost 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I joined back in after September 11th. I kind of happened. I was working a job, back in Michigan, where a lot of us is tied into the auto industry.
Mm-hmm.
So when that kind of started to go sideways and things like that,
Yeah.
I kind of jumped ship and went to the Navy, went back to the recruiter, and I joined in November of 2001.
Okay.
Okay, and then my first duty station was out in Hawaii. And I'm a P3 sailor through and through, except for my last tour. Mm-hmm. So I got 21 years and 8 months on the boat.
All right.
So,
what made you went like so? 9/11 obviously made you go back, and like the auto industry turning and everything else. But like, what made you go Army to Navy? Like, why didn't you go back to doing Army stuff?
I saw the writing on the wall.
What does that mean?
Just for me,
it was good.
It was going to be ground pounding, and that's not what I wanted to do. I drove tanks, and so I was like trying to avoid the fact of going back to being on tanks.
Okay.
And so, I didn't want to go back and do that. It was kind of like, that's a young man's game. Now, granted, I was only in my mid-20s, but shit, I didn't want to do that anymore.
Right.
I wanted to do something else. And what are you going to do when you get out after doing 20 years driving a tank? Let me drive this.
Yeah, it's also fair.
No, so I switched. I went right down to the recruiter, and that was kind of interesting. Said, I want to do this. I want to work in aviation. And they're like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I was gone within like a month and a half. By the time I finished,
it was quick.
And I went out to Hawaii, and I worked with P3s.
Yeah.
But I worked with some guys that we did a lot of supporting the snake eaters. I was
gonna say, because like not being Army, like how the hell did you end? You mentioned in your in some of your messages that you ended up in Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm like, how the hell did that happen? If you joined you left the Army and then joined the Navy, and you still ended up in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah, the platform that we did, I signed an NDA, so I can only kind of like.
That's all good, man. Yeah, just be vague.
We supported like our customers is what they called them. We did like real-time live video for some guys that were on the ground. I called them snake eaters or anybody within the Alphabet Soup gang, stuff.
Yeah.
So I was just a maintainer on the aircraft. I don't know exactly what they were doing. I didn't want to know because
right.
If I don't know, I can't be caught lying.
Yep.
So, and then I went to, after that, went to Afghanistan, did some stuff over there, was in Bahrain, did some stuff there, was over in Okinawa, did some stuff there. Then we moved on. Then I PCS'd up to beautiful Whidbey Island, where I've been ever since. Did P3s again, went back to Iraq twice.
Damn. All right. Were you on it? You weren't operating off of a carrier. You were like on the ground over there doing.
Nope.
Okay.
Boots on the ground, getting mortared.
Gotcha.
So,
Damn.
No, it was interesting. It was interesting.
Yeah.
It was a different time. Because I was there during the surge of 07, and so there was like they were throwing shit every other day. They were lobbing mortars and stuff over the fence.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting to sit there and see that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that over there is doing IA stuff. One of my best friends. But he ended up like a prison guard or something. So that which presumably it was like to free up Army infantry dudes to go do Army infantry things, but I don't know. That's the way I always understood it. But yeah, he had a good experience generally, but there was some shit that, I mean, like, I don't think he regrets it is what I mean. Like he made some good friends. He did have some issues. Like, they got in trouble for drinking because I guess you're not allowed to. And somebody had some booze. So yeah, he got in trouble for drinking. Then it like rebounded. He did really well. After that, got good evals and all that shit. But like, and I think he had a generally positive experience, but he also like I tried to warn him. Like, I was telling him not to go, and I was like, basically they came out and they asked for volunteers, and I was like, if nobody else raises their hand, I'll just do it because single no attachments, it's fine. And I know what deployment's like, and he had just joined. Oh no! And so I was just like, dude, and I know like it's not the same thing, but it's like, you know, you go over there, you grind through the suck. It's like I understand the general concept, and I know I can do it. And so I was like, if anybody needs to take the bullet, I will. But like maybe somebody will be enthusiastic about it and raise their hand. And no one did. And then this dumbass raised his hand before I could get there. And I'm like, I fucking told you not to do that shit. And then like the whole time, he was, you know, like he doesn't regret it. And I think he like grew a lot from it. But also like when he was there though, like we were getting these letters and emails and shit, just like he was miserable most of the time.
Oh, I have no doubt.
Home, but
you know, I served with a couple guys that did IAs doing detainee ops and stuff over in, I think it was Taji and somewhere else. I don't think nobody I knew was at, what's that, Abu Ghraib? Oh, God.
Yeah.
That hot mess.
I don't remember where he was. It definitely wasn't Abu Ghraib, but like.
There was another one in Taji. That was the other big one that I knew like 4 or 5 people that had done an IA over there.
Yeah, it may have been there. I don't know. I'd have to ask him, honestly. Like, I used to send him shit, but, like, we'd send him, like, care packages and letters and shit. But, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to ask him. It's been so long. That was fucking... It was, like, yeah, it might have even been before. Like, it was, like... Because I was there... Nah, yeah, it would have been, like, 2007.
Yeah, that would have been
time frame,
right around the time frame.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, okay.
And then...
I left my first boat in 2006, so that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. And then I moved over to still staying here in Whidbey, still did P3s, but I was on EP3, so this we were doing electronic surveillance back to Okinawa, 3 times to Qatar, down south to the Curacao. I don't know what the hell they were doing down there. I think something with Colombia. I don't know. They don't tell me, I don't ask.
Yeah.
You know, I did I did an instructor tour up here in Whidbey, teaching a lot of aviation stuff. I taught shipboard aircraft firefighting for 3 years before I ever seen the boat. It was kind of it was interesting. And then
that's funny.
I picked up chief in 2016. Okay. And that was interesting. And of course we'll talk about my experience with that later. You know, because we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. We'll get to that. I'm more interested now than I was before based on what you just did there. But man. What do you do? What are you up to now? You said you're still up in Whidbey?
Yeah. So I retired. I went to boat going squadron. And we did the COVID cruise, which was 210 days of never seeing a port.
Ugh, gross.
Yeah. So it was the Roosevelt with the Crozier, and then
I
wasn't with them. I was with we saw it happen. We were already out there. But I was on the Ike.
Oh, okay.
So Ike was the second boat that happened to be out there, and then we never pulled in.
Yeah,
and so we went through.
Gross,
it was yuck.
Ugh.
You know, and then
I retired when I did, dude.
Oh, bro, I can't tell you how many guys
so glad
there. And then I went through. And then I got put on medboard, which we'll talk about that because that was a fucked situation.
Yeah.
And then I went shore duty to get off of sea duty, and then I retired almost 2 years ago, October 20.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I did September 22, same time.
So
dope. So like, where do you want to start with? I mean, I know you got a hit list, so like, where do you want to start topic wise, man, and then we'll just get rolling.
Oh, let me see my list.
Yeah, I know you want to hit everything, so I don't want to.
Well, no, I mean, it doesn't have to be all of it.
Okay. Well, we can just start wherever you want to start, and then we'll get done when we get done.
Oh, shoot. Let's talk about... Oh, yeah, because that really did mess me up. Going through the Chief season.
All right,
Well,
yeah, good. That's the I
that's
spend a lot of time on that here, so like, but it's been a while since I've spent time on it, and it's timely because I think the results are dropping in like a week. So
yeah, week to 2 weeks is what I keep hearing up here.
yeah,
and then my wife be telling me on their spouses' pages, everybody's starting to freak out and this, that, or the other. And
I've been like very unplugged from it, like I feel like I kind of needed it, like,
oh yeah.
Because I felt bad because like I was still kind of a mess, and when Ariana made Chief last year and she wanted me to come out for her pinning and stuff, and I was just like, I just didn't think I could be there, you know what I mean? Like I didn't feel good about just being in that environment at all, because I would have lost my shit for sure. And then like based on her telling me about her experience, I would have been the old retired guy screaming at the CMC as a guest. And I'm just like, nope, I don't need this kind of drama in my life, dude. And so, but I also like, I've seen so much of it frustrates me and pisses me off. And then I have so much built up, just like angst based on all of the feedback and stories and shit. Like, and you're about to add to it, I'm sure, but like all the stories and feedback I get from listeners, man, about just how frustrated all of them are about the experience, especially the new generation of kids, like in the last probably like 3 or 4 years, probably like 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Those the people that went through those years, it's just like they're seeing through the facade like instantly, and they're just like, oh, this is all bullshit, and then they get really, really disillusioned. So yeah, man, because you said 2016.
Yep.
So yeah, man, start at the beginning. Let's get into it.
It was, for me, just a little bit of background. I was already kind of like a hot mess mentally.
Okay.
And I'll give a little background. I had a daughter die about 1.5 years before.
Oh, damn.
So it fucking wrecked me.
Yeah.
And this is where I kind of get into where I have a real hard bone to pick with the Chiefs and the Chiefs mess, is that I had a CMC the entire time till I left. Never once fucking talked to me about it.
And he was aware of it, obviously.
Oh, fuck
like,
yeah,
just
he was.
Because, yeah, okay.
He was, because the skipper and the XO at her funeral, which was held on the base, showed up.
Okay.
So there was no fucking way he didn't know.
Yeah.
And then I complained to another real good Chief friend of mine about it. Say, hey, what the fuck is this guy's problem?
Yeah.
They talked to him about it. Still never said nothing. You know? And
did you ever confront him about it, or did you guys ever talk about it? No.
Nope. It messed me up bad enough that I really don't want to talk to him about it.
I'm with you. Yeah, I like, not the same, obviously, but like I lost my brother and 2 young nieces unexpectedly. It was as I was retiring, so it would have been February of 22. And yeah, man, same thing. Like I was already having issues with like anxiety and insomnia and all this other medical. I had just gotten done with my cancer treatment, and then that happened. And dude, yeah, same kind of thing. And it's like, I didn't want to talk about it at all for a while. And then I kind of, I had this thing. My mom told me this thing so my ex-wife cheated on me. That was the whole thing. It blew up, and I was a fucking mess when that happened. And I remember talking to my mom about it, because I was like, my whole world was burning to the ground, and in my mind, you know, like it was, because I didn't expect that to happen. And she told me this thing, like I called her one day, I was packing up all her shit, and I like had a breakdown and was freaking the fuck out and like hyperventilating and shit. And I called my mom, and she's just like, calms me down. And then we were talking about it, and she's like, the more you like say it, the more it like or like the less power it has over you, kind of thing. And so like I forget the verbiage she used, but it's like been burned into my brain that like there's gonna be that phase of where it's like I'm just avoiding dealing with it until all of the acute like pain, I guess, or whatever the fuck that is, that dark stage. But then it's like when I get to a point where I feel like I can start verbalizing, and it's like I did I don't think I'll ever release it. I thought I might someday, but me and Jeff Bayless recorded something because my therapist was telling me, he goes, you should write stuff down about the people you lost, because eventually you're going to want to recall things and you're going to start forgetting. And so it's like, you should start writing stuff down. And I was like, well, I'll just record it and I'll talk to somebody, and then eventually I'll go back and listen to it. And I was telling all these stories, and we were just talking through it all. And that helped a lot. And then I talked to my parents about it. I talked to my brothers about it. I talked to all these other people. I talked to my wife about it. And then it's like, over time, it's like you get there. But yeah, I mean, it was a I still don't like talking about it very much, but like,
no, I hear you.
Yeah, I hear
you. I could feel, even just mentioning it to it, I could feel my
yep.
I could feel my thing change. I could feel how I talk change. I could feel how I felt change.
Yeah.
And so it's still raw in a certain respects, but it's not like an everyday thing. It's only kind of when I talk about her in certain aspects, or kind of more how like it affected me more than anything else. You know. But so coming up on the season and everything else like that, I had just transferred. And so I was kind of lost in the sauce of just transferring into a new command. Right. Especially going from like to an instructor duty. So it's, you know, you've been an instructor, so you know how like FCRs and all that googly goo that you have to deal with in that. And just going through the season, I was lost. I was completely lost. Yeah, and I get it. You're going to be lost in some aspects, right? Right. But I had the two shittiest sponsors I could ever, bro. Yeah. Have. One, if you didn't call him before 7 o'clock, he was piss drunk. And the other one lived 2 hours away. And I only ever saw him once the entire season. Of course. Past 1600. You know? And so how am I supposed to do this? And then everybody else, because we were at the schoolhouse, so we didn't have any of this other time for, you know, we had all the time in the world to get fucked with. Yeah. You know, and I don't agree with that. And then it's like, you know, all this other stuff, I was struggling really bad, and it was like nobody sat down and talked to me the entire time. You know, and I'm sitting there like treading fucking water and all this other shit, and it was just like, you know, it messed me up. And then I don't know how you guys do it on a boat with, like, we had a camp out, and then at this camp out,
similar.
So, okay, so
like, unless we're underway, like we usually, it's like usually outdoors, and you know, there's like RVs and shit, or like I've been at places where we did like there was a mount site and we did these little shitty cabins and stuff. But there's been different versions, but it's always like you're usually in a wooded area, and like yep.
And so we had those, and it was like, oh, tell us your deepest, darkest secrets. And I kind of remember you talking about like it was something with the trust. I remember you talking about it before, about like how us as chiefs with the new selects, we have to earn their trust, but we're asking the selects to trust us. Right. And that was kind of the thing. And it was like, hey, tell me your deepest, darkest secret so I can fucking put the screws to you after. You know, and it was just like, it took everything that I had, because before that, I was like a real good sailor, you know, very boisterous, wanting to talk all the time, kind of like how I'm talking to you now. And then after that season, I was just a shell of myself. My wife said I was very anxious. She said I was just very like pulled back and timid and not willing to stand up for myself. And I kind of got pushed around, you know. And granted, I know that your first year, you're still trying to get it, but fuck, I ate it. I had a couple guys, if I could, I would have punched them straight in the fucking face. You know,
like Chiefs or
oh yeah, no, Chiefs.
Yeah, okay.
After the season, you know, pull me in. It was not the greatest time. Now, granted, I'll take my lumps for being not as well as I could have been and how I handled some situations, and I get that. Right. But I don't think it's like that Mickey Mouse, let's fuck with them to the point where they break. Yeah. Type of shit.
And were they aware of what was going on with you, like what had happened with your daughter and stuff, or like kind of where you were mentally? Okay.
Nope. I don't think they.
And that's here's what's always so interesting to me about these. Like when I hear your stories, and not like not like a story like yours, because yours is unique in the
Mhm.
Chiefs season stories that I've heard, but like everybody's got their own story. And when I hear stories like these about like this is where I was at, this is what I was going through, and then I made Chief, and here's what happened. It's like while you're going through the Chiefs season, like you just mentioned, we want the Chief selects to trust us implicitly, but we do nothing. Like I've talked about, like we do nothing to earn their trust. So why would they? Right. And that was something I talked to Desiree and Ariana about on that one, where after they made Chief, it was like, hey, what was it like? Right. But the other thing, like what you just mentioned, was like they're always telling you to like know your people, right? And then they're also like making you, like, the forced function of going around and getting charges. One of the things that Chiefs will tell you that's for is so you can get to know the mess. Like you need to get to know all your brothers and sisters, right? Yeah. And it's like, okay, cool. Why the fuck didn't anybody in that mess know what was going on with you before they went forward with this, listless, brain dead plan to press all your buttons and push you to the breaking point and all? It's like you were already at the fucking breaking point. You were already broken. So it's like, but why didn't they know that? And that's just another really vivid illustration of how fucking incompetent this organization is. And it's like you're not even doing what you're telling me to do. And that's what, like, I hear so much from all the new Chiefs in the last few years. It's like,
oh, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah,
no,
man,
it's straight up. And that was kind of one of the things that I tried to do, like, once I made it, and whether I was a sponsor, assistant sponsor, just looking out for my people. It's like, I did not want them to eat the same fucking turd sandwich that I got fed. I didn't want them to eat it.
Right.
Hey, quick question. Hey, do you mind if I smoke?
I don't care. Go ahead.
Oh,
no, okay. I don't give a shit. I mean, I don't know if I'm not monetized on YouTube anyway. So if they're butthurt about it, it's like, it won't matter.
Okay. No, I just asked the question.
It's all good, dude. Yeah.
But that's how it felt. It was just like, hey, you didn't give a fuck, but you want me to trust you.
Right. Right. But like I'll never understand it's like you're getting held up at gunpoint for trust. It's like, tell me all your fucking secrets. Like, trust me, bitch. Like, and it's like, dude, like, why? How does it ever happen that way in any other context in life, in a human relationship? It doesn't. Like, that's never a thing that is going to happen. It's like, if anything, you're going to accomplish some weird, like, wish version of Stockholm syndrome by just fucking being psychos. It's not, I mean? Like, it's not, that's not how you earn trust. That's not how you build trust in a relationship between two people. Like, there's never going to be a situation where somebody is going to trust you with that kind of information without you earning it first and demonstrating to them that they can trust you. And so it's like, it is very much on the Chiefs mess to earn the trust of the selectees from day one, and arguably even before they're selected. Like if they would work on the culture and the way that they, like, just improving leadership competence would improve it all by, like, as a second order effect. But it's like, then, like, if sailors actually trusted and respected the Chiefs mess just as as end users of that leadership without being, like, selected to enter kind of thing, then it's like, when they are selected, there's kind of like a default level of trust there that you can build on. But, like, we don't even have that, dude. Like, we don't,
no.
You don't even have fucking, like, they go in with a default skepticism. Like, they go in,
they hate us
with an expectation they're going to be fucked over and betrayed. And then when it happens, they're like, oh, see, like,
there it is. Just wait for it to
fucking
come.
do it. Yep.
Them assholes got me.
Yep.
No, that's how it was. It was like, so anytime after that, I always tried to get to know my people as best as I could, as much as they would let me in.
Right.
Some people are very quiet and close and all this other stuff. And I almost took it as kind of like, hey, like, what is your, how I tried to learn how to, I guess, motivate sailors was just like, found out what makes it tick. Why did they join?
Right.
I've always thought that, hey, like, why did you join? Because everybody's going to join for their own reason and this, that, or the other. And I always thought, knowing why they joined kind of give me an insight into the type of person they were, and hey, like, what what things I could do to either help them succeed, whether they stayed in or got out, or somewhere in between.
Right.
Because it's not for everybody. Nobody's going to do not everybody's doing 20 years.
Yeah.
You know?
And what's weird is like, I talk about it, like the trust stuff a lot, because I feel like people don't take it as seriously as they should. And like, it's not prioritized in the place that it should be when leading people. But also, like, what I've found through doing this, like through doing the podcast, is like, it's if your leadership competence is at a place at, like, if you have like a baseline where when you're just interacting and presenting yourself to the world in a way that's competent, right? Like in a way that you're demonstrating that baseline level of leadership competence, and just like emotional intelligence and just, shit like that I always talk about on the podcast. It's like, what you'll find is like the people are they want to trust you. And so it's like, if you consume hours and hours and hours of this content, it's like, what I've found is more often than not, people enter into a conversation with me like kind of trusting me already. Not like they know me, but it's like, when if you were to listen to every single one of my podcasts, you'd have a pretty fucking good idea of who I am. Like, how could you not, right? Because I'm the same dude here as I am everywhere else. So it's like, it's so all that is to say, like, if you are moving through the world and presenting yourself in a way that demonstrates some leadership competence, and that you're actually, like, you have some emotional intelligence, and that you actually care about the things that you just talked about. Like, I care about why you joined. I care about what makes you tick. I care about what you want to be and how I can help you get there. It's like, if that's how you move through the world, it's like, people you're going to gain a reputation, right, through that behavior and the lived experience of those people. Like, they're going to start telling other people, like, oh yeah, that chief he's good. He'll take care of you. You know what I mean? And then, like, when you start entering into those types of relationships with people that don't already know you and that you haven't spent all that time building trust with, it's like, it's easier than you think. You know what I mean? Like, I'll spend all these hours talking about it, and maybe I've like made it a little, like, not as approachable as it should be, but it's like, it's because it sounds complex and it sounds hard a lot of the times, I think, but it's not as hard as I think people make it out to be. Or like, because like you start talking about like vulnerability and like, oh, I gotta tell this person about these things that are important to me, and that maybe we are getting into like deepest, darkest secret territory. Like, because if you're my chief and something crazy happens and I gotta tell you the context to make it make sense, I better fucking trust you at least a little bit, And it's like, what if I don't? Then I'm not going to tell you shit until everything's on fire and you find out about it. And then it's like, at that point, the damage is done. So, I don't know, man.
No, I 100% agree with you. It's like, it's hard. It's hard. I mean, even after that, it's just like, because right now I work on base. I work at Skookum, and I do like barracks maintenance. So hey, your light bulb's out. Oh, okay, here, let me change it. Hey, you pooped in you didn't shit in the sink, but that's what it seems like sometimes.
I can only imagine the kind of shit you get like trouble calls for, dude.
Oh my god, I should send you some pictures of the stuff I pull out of.
Please don't. I used to say a base CDO in Groton, Connecticut, and I would get called to some shit sometimes that you're just like, what in the fuck is happening, dude? Like, just the kind of weird shit where like people are on drugs, or people got so blackout drunk and just did something crazy, or like that, like some smells coming out of a barracks room and they're like, think somebody might be dead or something. And then it turns out it's just like some hoarder kid who hadn't had a barracks inspection in a year, whose shit is all moldy and fucked up. And I don't know, man.
No, I've been in those where it's just like, the smell hits you. Like, I carry Vicks with me everywhere I go. And then I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I can go work in here
ready
now.
For this shit.
It's and that's one of the frustrating things, because a couple of guys I work with, there's most of the guys I work with are prior military, so they kind of know how it is.
Mhm.
you know, but there's a few of the younger guys that never been in the military, and it's kind of uh, eye-opening for them because they, you
Yeah.
know, they think, oh, the Navy's going to have this high standard and yada yada yada, and they walk into some of these rooms, it's like, what the
Yeah.
fuck is
Well,
this?
and it's not that the standard doesn't exist or anything, and it's like I would say it's like I don't know, like it exists. I'm not gonna like praise it or anything, but like because they do room inspections and they do you know all that other bullshit, but it's like the a lot of the kids joining the military, like not a lot. I mean, enough that you get a lot of these stories anyway. Like I wouldn't say it's like a dominant amount, but or like the majority. But there's a lot of kids that join the military that were never taught like personal hygiene and how to do laundry and like how to make the and like in boot camp you get a little like they teach you how to make your rack and fold your clothes and shit, but like you don't get like in that whatever it is 8 weeks
Oh hell no!
I don't know if it's the same now, but yeah, they don't get. You're not going to get ever like a lifetime of habits jettisoned, like and get.
Oh
hard
yeah,
reset.
like take the garbage out every day or
in
any
8
of that.
weeks.
No.
Right, and if you don't have, if you know an RDC's not going to kick the door in and start melting your face off, then yeah, you're going to start. Pizza boxes are going to pile up and fucking, you know, you're not going to wash your underwear for a year and it's going to get ridiculous. And that's a lot of times that's what happens. They kind of revert back to their old behavior and without like their mom there or somebody there to like force the function, or maybe they never even had a parental figure or whatever. Like I knew a guy that was homeless his whole life before he joined the military. He was, you know, so it's just like, though sometimes you get people like that are escaping a shitty situation where they never got taught how to like just do normal adult shit. I had a kid on my first boat that thought credit cards were like gift cards. So he just kept opening credit card accounts and just spending that shit. And then he started getting like people started calling the command and he goes, I got to pay all that back. And I'm like, yeah, dude, that's how credit works. But like no one ever taught him that. Like he came from a household where like no one ever taught him that shit. So yeah,
and
man.
I think that is quite interesting. I never really thought it that way of like maybe just this is a normal for them.
Yeah, sometimes I think it is. I mean, it's not always, but yeah, sometimes I think it is.
Hell no. So that's like I said, the season was interesting for me because it was kind of like you know, it kind of messed me up, and this is something that my wife had said, and I kind of sent you a screenshot of what my my wife had said about with the Mickey Mouse frat house bullshit. And I was dying laughing when she said that.
Yeah.
You know, because she's like, you know, when she was talking about it, especially like with like, hey, tell me your deepest, darkest secrets. We're not trained for that shit. So why are we asking these sailors to do that and to bare their souls and bare all this shit?
Right.
And then expect them to like, we're not giving them anything how to deal with it afterwards after they bare everything to you.
Right.
That's
deal with like the consequences of not being willing to, right? Because I've heard stories like that from people that like, I'm not fucking telling you that, like, you know what I mean? And it's like but the chiefs that they say no to act like it's some huge affront and they violated some like sacred rules and trust or whatever the fuck, and it's like none of that's real. Like you're just making this shit up as you go along, and it is frat house Mickey Mouse bullshit. Like it's like in lieu of actual training objectives and leadership competence, and like, you know what I mean? Like we have this whole like mechanism that we call a training event, and yet show me where the training objectives are. Like show me what training objective is tied to what event. Show me any of that shit. Like, where's the master course document? Where's the IGs? Where's the what? And it's like now they have it for like CPO LDC, which is after you're pinned, and then whatever they're calling, like I think it's laying the keel now. Still, I'm not sure if they've changed it, but there is a course document for that 5-day course. But what about the other 7 weeks? You know what I mean? Like, and then final night and any of that other shit. It's like, show me what are they learning when you're pressing them for this information that you have no right to, you know, like what's the goal here? Like, what are you accomplishing? And don't give me this like, oh, we're breaking them back down to build them back up, or if you'll understand later, pointed barbs, blah, blah, blah. It's like bullshit. You're fucking, those are all just bullshit catch-all excuses for somebody that has no fucking idea what's going on around them. And they're just regurgitating the same shit they heard. And like, well, I had to go through it. You have to go through it is effectively the like motto of the season. And it's like, that's bullshit because it's fucking broken.
Yeah. And that's how we break people to the point where they fucking never recover.
And they don't trust the organization. And
right here, broken for 5 fucking years.
Yeah,
before I finally got my shit. You know, it took me to going through medboard before I finally got my shit in the sock.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't from a lack of trying on my end. It's just I had to get away. Where it's like I had to force myself to do all the mental health stuff, where it's get on the right meds and get all the shit like that. And that was kind of one of the other things. Is like, how does bad or good leadership really affect the mental health? And I can tell you from my personal experience that, you know, there was some good leaders out there who pushed me to get to where I needed to be, but you know, there was some that's, oh my God, bro, I was called a horrible chief. I was called a piece of shit at eval debriefs because they didn't want to drink the Kool-Aid. Yeah, you know, because I missed the deployment because I got held back. Oh yeah, that's a good story. We can go into that one. That's a good. Well, like doing medboard over 20, right? Well, not a lot of people know that if you're over 20 years, you can still go through medboard. A lot of people think that's.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I would imagine anyway, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that like the purpose of it beyond 20 is they have this thing where they like can't send you home broken. Like if they broke it, they have to fix it. So it's like you could just retire, but because you have the medical issues that you had, it's like they have to, that has to get adjudicated before they send you on your way, so that then the VA doesn't inherit this dumpster fire. It's like, it's just continued care. So I mean, go ahead.
But medical, there was so in my situation, I got held back for some behavioral health stuff where I couldn't deploy. Okay. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty on that.
All right.
But I made the one deployment with the Ike, came back 2 weeks before we're supposed to leave, or a month before, or it was a little under a month before we're supposed to go back out. I got pulled and said, "You're not going." You know, and the doc says you're going to be out in 3 months
because of medboard, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He said you're going to be out in 3 months, Chief, on a telephone call, not sitting there talking to me in the face. On a telephone call, tell me. And granted, I got 5 kids and I live in housing. Okay, so fuck, I better jump through my ass,
right?
You know. So that was December of 20. So I don't go anywhere. They go out, and then I sit there for 7 months while they're gone.
Of course.
They don't put me in another command. They don't send me anywhere. They just do this. I must have made 5, 6 different appointments going, hey, what the fuck is going on? What is this going on? What is this going on? The command from the boat sends out a message basically saying, hey, he's not deployable. Sends it to PERS. PERS comes back, medboard.
Yeah.
Now, medical here goes, he's over 20. We're not doing that. And I'm like, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing that, advocating for myself.
Yeah.
But before that, before they send it out, PERS, they do the medboard, everybody's telling me, drop your retirement paperwork. Yeah. And we'll let you go. Well, I still had time left on when I transferred my education. So if I had have dropped it early, I would have had to pull my GI Bill for my kids. Yeah. So nope, fuck you. I ain't doing that. No. Yeah. You know. And so it was just like, oh, this, that, or the other. And Navy Med here, Big Med there. You know, they're fighting back and forth. I'm talking to the captain, behavioral health, Full Bird. And he's talking to me, asking me about it. And I asked him, hey, have you ever done this where it was somebody that directed it? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, sure. I said, anybody over 20 years? And he goes, Chief, no. And I said, well, this is where I kind of turned into a prick. I said, hey, I printed out the instruction, sir. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, it's 117 pages. He goes, okay. And I said, ain't nowhere fucking in there where it says over 20 years. you can.
That you can't. Yeah.
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 And then I looked at him and I said, but sir, and if you don't believe me, sir, it's down in my truck. I'll go get it for you. I highlighted it.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see it? And he's like, no. And about a month later, my shit went through, you know, because I was basically telling the captain, fucking, please get your people in the sock, you know. But I think it's just like, because everybody thinks, and you were asking me that question, it's like over 20 years, you still have to be deployable. You know, whether you're on shore duty, sea duty, it doesn't matter if you ain't been in 6 months or 60 years. Like you said, you can't go home fucking broke. They can't do that. You know, and so I ended up fighting them about it, and they ended up medically retiring me at 23 and some change between the Army and the Navy.
Yeah.
You know, but I ended up at 70% instead of 50, whatever the fuck it was, 56, 57. So it ended up working out better in my favor because then I had all my whole VA and everything else done. And then within a month of retirement, I had all my stuff was done. Nice. You know, which actually worked out in my favor. But again, had I not pressed that button and had I not read that instruction, I'd have been hanging with my ass hanging out. You know, and that's you know, it's frustrating.
Yeah. And like, dude, everybody I've talked to about med boards, it's always a shit show. Like always, no one ever knows what the fuck's going on. No one's ever telling the service member, and it seems like no one even knows the answer either. And that or the people that are like these amorphous, like theys in some fucking building somewhere. Nobody knows where they are, but it's like, yeah, it's like this. It's always a dumpster fire. So it's like, yeah, I can't say I'm surprised, but also like you'd think they'd have this kind of shit figured out by now, especially when it's just like it's shoreside medical functions. It's like, how is this that difficult? Like there should just be medboard people that's all they do, and they should be experts at it.
And I 100% agree with you. But I was the limb dude coordinator when I was on shore duty. Yeah, you know what my training was. Oh, there it was. Here's the binder, fuckface.
Here's the binder, and your name's now in the 1301. Figure it the fuck out.
Yeah, and that's exact. Oh shit! I'm trying to fucking.
What? Now you're trying to call me on Facebook. It's all good, dude.
I was looking at my thing. I was like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "Oh."
Looking at the messages.
Yeah. That was a huge thing for me. Was just like learning how to advocate for myself, you know, and like reading the instructions. And as I was doing that, I was pressing, and I was impressing on these other guys that I was talking to, whether it's junior sailors, my brothers, officers, this, that, or other. Was like, don't just take whatever they say as fucking face value. Right. If you got a question that don't sound right, read the fucking instruction.
Yep. Open the book, man. Like more often than not, I would say in my experience, what I was told by admin, what I was told by, I can't say legal. Legal was usually pretty solid. Especially the legal men, like the lawyer side of it. I mean, I've had limited interactions with, but the legal men were always on point. But yeah, like admin, like PSD, like pay and stuff, travel, fucking medical, like, yeah, dude, like, and even just like regular programmatic stuff, like, on a regular basis, and not just for me specifically, but all the people I was charged with leading, right, man? Like, I've got stories on stories on stories about sailors coming to me and saying, oh yeah, they told me no. And it's like, wait, what? Or like a whole bunch. I asked about this program. Like when I was a career counselor, it happened a whole bunch where like sailors were telling me like, oh yeah, I asked, but they said I couldn't cross rate. So I'm just getting out. And I'm like, who said you couldn't cross rate? And like, I'm like, did you route a package? And they said no, because that's different. And they're like, no, like I asked the career counselor before you, and they said no. And it's like, yeah, that's not how that works. Like there's a program, you got to submit paperwork, like all. And so a whole bunch of the kids that were told no are now like 2 of them were mine. They were cooks, and now they're CT chiefs. And it's like, they were 2nd and 3rd classes. They were going to get the fuck out of the Navy. But it's like, turns out if you open a fucking book, even my Cobb, who I have an enormous amount of respect for. I love him to death. And he was really, really smart about a lot of shit. But he just, hadn't kept up with the Milpers manual. And he even told me and it was just like our offhand remark. He's like, yeah, I don't think that program's real anymore. And it was this, I don't know if it still is, but it's called the SCORE program. It was like selective conversion something.
I've heard of it. I don't know if it's still real,
but it's not really the point. Like, the point is, open the fucking book and read that shit. Like, I got one of my guys when I was on my very first shore duty, and I was a second class. I was in charge of a watch section, and one of my guys took the second class exam and missed it by a couple of points. And I was like, give me your profile sheet. And I open the advancement manual to the table that shows you how all the points on your profile sheet are calculated. Read it all as math. And I'm just a dork about this shit. So I had gone to the nav admin where it gave you, and I don't know if that's still where it gives you the range of dates, but there's a range of dates for how you calculate PMA. Like the evals from this date to this date are the PMA promotion, like the promotion ratings that you'll use to calculate your PMA. So I pulled all his evals, did the math on his promotion ratings, and got him fucking advanced to second class. And it's just like, nobody else was doing that shit. And it's like, it became more prevalent over time where I started to see chiefs or first classes reviewing their guys' profile sheets on submarines. But it's like, I always did that shit. I'm like, if it was close, like if it was within spitting distance, I'm like, okay, give me your fucking, we're going to break this shit all down. Go get me your fucking evals. And then I'd look up the nav admin and do all the math. And it's like, I mean, a bunch of times I got people promoted doing that. I got 2 people promoted and back paid for BCNRs. Like, it's a Bureau for Correction of Naval Records. It's like they missed an advancement exam by no fault of their own when they were fucking deployed to the sandbox or some shit. And the other one, I forget what the scenario was, but yeah, we got people advanced and back paid. One kid, he was an A-ganger, a conventional mechanic on a submarine. He was senior second class. It was his second submarine. But he showed up a second class, like he checked in as a second class. We did the BCNR, and he went from a second class to a board eligible first class. And then like 2 months later, he put on khakis. Like, he got selected to chief. Wow. So he went from a second class to a chief in like 4 or 5 months. It was real quick. Because he got promoted to first class and back paid and his time and rate date adjusted, and then subsequently took the chief's exam and then got selected to chief that cycle. Damn. So it was fucking nuts.
That's crazy.
Man. And it's like, all that shit was just from being like aware of what's in the book, being aware of what the mechanisms are and how to use them. And at the bare minimum, it's like, if you're in a leadership position, like, you don't need to be an expert on all these programs, but you damn sure need to know where to look. You know what I mean? Like, you need to be aware of like, what's the Milpers manual? Where do I find it? What kind of shit's in it? So that I know where to go look, you know what I mean? And like, where can I find all the OpNav and BUPERS and SecNav instructions? Where can I find this? Yeah, like all those things that you're going to need, and then go look it up. And it's like, and there's I still talking about chief shit, right? Like, everybody's freaking out about results are going to come out soon, right? Because I think quotas might have come out. I didn't see them on my Navy HR, but I see Facebook people freaking out, right?
Yeah.
And it's like every fucking year I get, and especially through the podcast, because I have a YouTube video up about chief package preparation and submission, and then I had one before that about, or the one after that was the chief's board, like, and how it works and how we select chiefs, because I sat the selection board before I retired. And it's like, I get a lot of messages thanking me for kind of clearing up all the bullshit and dispelling all the myths and rumors, but also like, you still see a ton of that shit in Facebook groups and people sending me emails that didn't watch that video or listen to that podcast already, asking me questions about like, how do I fix something in my in INSEPs so that just in case like for the Chiefs board, I'm like, the Chiefs board can't see INSEPs. And they're like, yes, they can. No, they fucking can't. Like, no, ask me how I know. And it's incredibly simple to like, I knew all that before I was a board member, because turns out there's a Milpers man article, there's a Navy advancement manual, and then there's the nav admin that comes out, and that the nav admin tells you where to look. It's got the Navy advancement manual by the instruction number, the BUPERS instruction. It's got the fucking Milpers man article. They references them all. And then if you know where to find them, and that's the key, is like, you got to teach people, like, go to my Navy HR, go to references. Here's where to go, to the boards page, go to here, and this is where you find all this shit. but you need to know where to look if you're not a dork like me. Like I was like in the instructions reading them a lot so that I was aware of it. But if you know where to look, when the problem comes up, you just open the book. And it's not like I wasn't doing that. I didn't have them all memorized. I'm not a fucking computer. I just was very familiar with them. So I knew, oh, okay, let's go pull out the chart and do this and we'll calculate your profile sheet. Or let's go to the Milper's Man article and figure this the fuck out. And because I was so familiar with it, it was like when new shit came up that I wasn't aware of, it's like, oh, I know how to navigate the Milper's manual really well, or I know where to go find this instruction that we need, and then we'll go from there. And it's like a naval instruction is a naval instruction, so it's kind of like they're structured in a way that like once you're like proficient at working with like these programs and the documents, supporting documents and all that kind of shit, it's like you kind of know how to navigate them. You understand the verbiage, you understand how they're structured.
Yeah, you know exactly where to look. You know, pass by all the bullshit and get to the meat and potatoes.
Well, and you start like speaking the language. Yeah. So it's like, it's like a fucking cheat code, man. Not just advocating for yourself, but advocating for the people that you're charged with leading. And it's like, and the dirty little secret is like, you don't got to be a chief to do this shit. I was doing this shit when I was a third class, man. I was quoting the NAVSUP P486 to my MS1 back in the day, like telling him what a fuck up he was, because that's just who I am. I'm always in the book and I want to do it the right way. And I want to do like follow the policy and get the shit done in the best way possible. But I also call out bullshit when I see it. And it's like, these kids can get in those instructions too, man. These young people, when they're told shit that doesn't sound right, or even if you're told something that sounds like it might be legit, but it's not the answer you wanted, go fucking double check, man. Because like more often than not, in my experience, except for the legal people, you guys are awesome. Everybody else, more often than not, when I would get in the instruction, I'd be like, yeah, that's not true. That's not real. Like, that's not how this works at all. And I'm going to fucking push back. And when you come to, just like you described, like you walk in there with the highlighted instruction in your hand, it's a whole different conversation than when, you know, because sometimes it's somebody operating on tribal knowledge, you know, like somebody that's in the expertise learned about this process by just tribal knowledge. And the last guy showed me how to do it and taught me about it, but has never actually opened the reference or used the procedure or whatever. But then sometimes it's somebody's just fucking lazy. Like they just don't want to deal with it. They don't want to do all the legwork to help you navigate the process to get your desired results. So they just tell you, oh yeah, that's not, you can't do that.
Yeah, that's not real.
And now I don't have to do anything. You know what I mean? And it happens though. And so it's like, get in them books, man, figure out where to find that stuff, figure out how to navigate them, get familiar with them, because like, that nobody's going to advocate for you better than you. And it's like, I hope people happen upon mentors and leadership that will go out of their way to do those kinds of things. But it's like, more often than not, you're going to be the one that needs to like die on that hill. And it's like, so in order to do that, you need to be able to do exactly what you described, man. Like that's how it needs to happen.
You know what I find is funny is, you know, being in aviation, they sit there and tell us, follow the pubs, follow the instructions, follow this, follow that, because it's written in blood, you know, and all this other shit. And then we shoot from the fucking hip with the like you're saying,
chief season. The whole chief season is fucking,
you know, and being up here in it, you know, exactly. Pew, 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 pew.
Pew, pew, pew.
You know, and I can't stand it because, you know, they're always telling us, you know, working on the planes, you gotta follow instructions, you know, you'll never go wrong. You won't never get in trouble if something goes bad. Yeah, but everything else that we do that's not that related, I don't know if that's on subs. It might be the same, it might not be the same.
They'll find a way to blame you at the critique anyway, whether you follow the procedure or not. But ask me how I know.
I don't want to know. No, but another thing I kind of wanted to touch on was just like you were asking about Iraq and Afghanistan. You know, and how that was. Iraq, it was, like I said, it was an interesting time. We were down south, so I got to see stuff like the ziggurat of Ur, which is one of the oldest buildings in the world. You know, 4,000. Yeah, and then they say they have Abraham's house down there. Abraham from the Bible.
Oh wow.
Who's, you know, Abraham's in Muslim, Jewish, and Christian cultures and all that stuff. So they say that they have his house down there in southeastern Iraq. Yeah, so I got to see some of that. I got to see some of the other things.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, it was interesting. But Afghanistan, like I said, we were doing the supporting the guys on the ground and all that stuff.
Mm.
And I happened to be out there. I'm sure you know, like Lone Survivor, the book and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I happened to be out there when it happened.
Okay.
You know, and so I got to actually, well, not when they brought him in and all that stuff, but like when the helicopter got shot down and all that stuff, we just happened to be sitting around and we weren't supposed to, you know, fly for a certain amount of time. And then it, you know, it went down and then like, hey, we're wheels up as soon as we can. Instead of taking like 3 hours, we were wheels up in like an hour and some change.
Yeah.
You know, and then they flew for whatever doing this. But I remember, and I still have the pictures of going to the memorial service of not the SEALs, but the guys on the from the 160th, the Chinook that went down. And that was
I mean, there was a bunch of SEALs on that too, I think, right?
Yeah, there was
like 8 guys that were going to help.
Yeah, the QRF, I think is what they called them.
Yeah.
And went out there. So that was interesting because you know, we're doing that, you know, but it was kind of like a regular deployment because we didn't go outside the wire. You know, me personally, I didn't go outside the wire.
Right.
So everybody thinks, oh yeah, you know, this, that, or the other. We just eat in the chow hall. We fix the plane goes fly. We come back. You know.
Yeah.
But it was interesting sitting there and doing that, and then, you know, I actually we didn't have a vehicle to get back and forth, and so we actually, you know, used our Chevrolets. And then I got good with them.
I've never heard that before. That's good.
You know, and then actually we had an extra fridge, and so I traded our fridge for use of a Humvee because the guys knew I'd driven Humvees when I was in the Army, and so we traded a Humvee. So it's kind of cool. We're all sitting in the back, and we all have our like I don't know how in the fuck we got it, but we got 2 Kevlar helmets for me and the guy who was driving up front, and then everybody else had their cranials, which if you ever seen in aviation is the fucking stupid buckets. You know, so they're all
well, yeah, we had cranials on submarines for a lot of like small, they call it small boat handling, but you go or like helicopter shit. Because sometimes, like if we had to medevac somebody in certain conditions, they have to go out the sail, and you have a helicopter like pulling them off.
Like from Hunt for Red October stuff.
I mean, kinda, yeah. That's a little dramatic, dramatized, but you know, like no one's ever gonna helicopter onto like the actual hull of the submarine. Like you're gonna go in and out the sail because it's much higher above the water, and there's a hatch up there, like a watertight door. But yeah, it's like some of the guys that do that. We had cranials and stuff, but like we had Kevlar helmets for when they did like random. They would do like what do they call them? Random anti-terrorism measures or whatever the fuck. So like the top side, just like the petty off the deck kind of people are like have fucking Kevlar and helmet and all this crazy. It's just like, you're just making it harder for somebody that's barely proficient with a gun to fucking use it properly. But like, whatever. What do I know? They've never trained in it ever. They're just like, here, put the shit on.
No, but it's and I guess another thing is like kind of trying to find balance between work and home, and I think that's where, or who you are as a person. You know, because you see all these guys, and you see them on all the meme pages about guys that got like, you know, the results not excuses, Navy Chief, Navy Pride, blah 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 blah. You know, and it's
dude.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you know, and
I mean, like, and it's funny. Like, look behind me. Like, I'm a big collector. Like, there's my this is my late 1800s combo cover in that case.
Oh, nice.
There. It's mint too. I can't believe I got that thing. But yeah, I collect a ton of shit, and I'm very proud. But like, I'm also like, that bumper sticker shit, I'm just like, fucking stop it, dude. Like, because like within the skin of this room is like, this is where you'll see this shit. I'm not running around. I'm even now, like that I'm retired, I'm not running around in fucking Chief hoodies and shit. I don't got nothing on my car truck. Like, I'm not, because it's not my whole fucking personality. It's just a thing I did, and it's a thing I did that shaped me as a man and a human, and it was the lion's share of my adult experience, and I'm extremely proud of it. But I'm also like, I have this very like I'm trying to think of the best way to say this, like this I don't know if it's like a respect for, or like I just want to, like I have a lot of reverence for like the role that I played in the lives of the people that I got to lead, and even the people that I worked with and for. It's like the thing I got to do, it was such a fucking privilege to be trusted to do that, and to like have the impact on the people that I did in the way that I did. Yeah. Like, it was such a fucking privilege, and it was such a big deal to me that like I'm extremely proud of it, and like I love collecting the history, because like I look at it like I'm just like a tiny part of this fucking story, and I'm extremely proud, and I feel very, very lucky to have been a part of that. But then when it becomes like this, like you're like flexing on people, and you're like throwing it in their face, and almost like it's like you're showing off. It's like,
nobody wants to hear it.
Pride to a fault. Yeah, it's gross, man, and it's embarrassing. And you're like, the feeling that I get, I can't make an objective case for it. I mean, maybe I could. I'd have to do some research, but like, the feeling that I get is one of like, you, like, it's like you're disrespecting what it is and the way that I view it. But like the way I view it isn't the way that everybody should or does view it. I mean, I could argue the should part, but that's another rabbit hole for another time. But like I know everybody else doesn't view it that way, and that's fine. And I know I don't get to make the decision on how everybody views it for them, because that'd be fucking ridiculous. But at the same time, I just like, I really fucking hate that shit. It's just like one of the illustrations that always made me feel gross. Like, one of the examples is coins, right? Like the Navy I grew up in and the Chiefs mess I was raised in, Chiefs coins were like a thing that you gave to somebody when they did something like exceptional, or as like a thank you for helping us out or whatever. Like it wasn't a fucking like Beanie Baby that you fucking, like, or whatever, like some trinket that you can just go fucking buy, and that like it's just like a buy, sell, and trade, like we're doing fucking Pokemon cards or some shit. It's like, and that's what it's devolved into. And it got to the point where like every time I would meet a chief, right, like some dude I'd never seen in my fucking life, they'd coin me, like shake my hand, like they're like greasing my palm or something. Like, bro, I don't even fucking know you, and why are you giving me a coin? Like, why are you giving me your Chiefs coin? Like it's okay, cool, thanks, I guess, but like you're devaluing what this is to me. And I didn't fucking do anything for you. I don't even know who you are, dude. Why are you giving me a coin again? Like, it was weird, and it felt gross. And I feel like you're devaluing one of the precious few things that Chiefs have to give sailors to kind of reinforce the behavior we want, and to like kind of, I guess, like gas them up when they need it. Like, cause there was times like I had a food load gone like horribly off the rails. Like the way they do it on ballistic missile submarines is they just fuck your eyes out. Like you do it, you always do like these like real short refits, when they're just turning over the crews, right? And so everybody's just hyper focused on all the maintenance and repairs and shit that need to get done so the ship can get back underway. And it, like, the loading food and consumables and parts is a fucking afterthought, right? So they'll squeeze you in somewhere on a fucking spreadsheet for like a day and a half if you're lucky. And I usually would get like 2.5 days, because I'd go to the meetings and fucking freak out and be like, this is fucking, I'm not working my guys 20 hours a day, so go fuck yourself. But the first time I did it, I didn't have that like I didn't have the insight to know that, okay, I have to go to these fucking meetings and flip the fuck out and shit on this guy and email that guy and grease some palms and whatever to make sure that I would have crane support and all the other bullshit I needed. So the very first one we did it, like it went off the rails, and I made a mistake in like my planning that led to me having too much frozen food to fit in the freezer on the submarine. Because we had like a topside freezer that we were subsisting out of, and I like did this top off because you want to like leave with everything just packed to the gills so that you have the endurance that you need, but without like I don't want to overdo it, but I don't want to underdo it. So like I made one small mistake, and I ended up with, you know, like a couple 100 pounds of food I didn't fucking need, but I didn't have anywhere to put it either because they had taken my pier side freezer away. So I'm like, fuck. And so like I had to jump through my ass, call a guy who gave me the code to his lock. Thank God I had a code on it because I was gonna like bolt cut this fucking thing. And we figured it all out, but we were at work super late, and like my FSAs and my real junior cooks, I mean, just pulling miracles out of their ass. And so at the end, like I coined every one of those motherfuckers, and I was thanking them and just telling them how much I fucking appreciated how hard they had worked. And I understand that I asked a lot of them that day, and I really fucking appreciate it. And that it was my fault that we were here this late because I fucked up. And that's why we ended up in this situation. You know what I mean? And it's like, that meant a lot to those people, especially the cooks on the other crew that didn't directly work for me, but they were like helping us out. They had a really shitty command climate and a chief that didn't appreciate them. So when they got to get an experience with a chief that did appreciate them and did like thanked them for their work. And one of the guys I'm still pretty close with, like every time I see him, he gives me a big bear hug because it was like his first experience with a chief that gave a fuck about him. And so like, that's what you're losing when you're devaluing this shit in that way. And it drives me fucking nuts, dude. Cause it's like, like put aside all the shit we've talked about how broke the chief season is and how fucking stupid all the Mickey Mouse bullshit is. It's like, one of the very few things that Chiefs used to get right was that, like, they had a mechanism like that when your chief coined you and said thank you, know what I mean? Like, it's like when the CO gives you a coin, like you see these kids, even if they're the bitter, I'm waiting for my DD214 blanket kid, when the CO coins them for doing something good, they light up like a fucking Christmas tree. I don't give a shit who you are. So it's
I still got coins from...
Right. We used to have
from
that.
The Army.
We used to have that, dude. And we fucking gave it away.
I got coins from...
fucking hate that shit.
96. Still sitting in my house.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Yep.
Shit.
Dude, this is my... I made Chief on the Jimmy Carter, and this is like the coin they made while we were there. And I have this...
Nice.
This thing, like, it sits in front of me all the time. I'm like, this one, and then I got one. This was really cool because I don't think they understood the significance of this to me, but when I finished my cancer treatment, they gave me a coin. It's like a serialized coin from the Proton Therapy Center in Seattle. And it's like, I was nice. patient 3026 to complete rate. And so it's like when they gave me that for completing my therapy, they gave me like a little certificate and shit too. But like, yeah, this was fucking. So these two are always sitting in front of me, like, because they're the two that I think are the most important. And that, like, they mean a lot to me. So like, yeah, but that's the value and like the gravity that just a coin, just a military challenge coin can have. And I feel like we turned them into fucking Pokemon cards. We turned them into fucking, you know, like just this stupid fucking thing that people trade, and they make all these goofy ass coins that don't fucking mean anything. And like, yeah, I don't know, man. It breaks my heart to see people give shit like that away. I don't know.
No, I had I had to go to Children's Hospital with like all three of my boys, you know, see same doc for some congenital stuff, you know, surgeon. He's a old lieutenant colonel, Army Reserve guy.
Oh, nice.
So I got one of my mess coins, and it was the door, and it has the kick plate on the bottom. And so then I put his name on it and gave it to him.
Oh, that's cool.
He was fucking on the verge of tears.
I bet, man. But that's like, I bet you when he was still in the Army, like that the value of coins were that, because like when I first joined, dude, and I'm sure you saw it too, like especially back in the Army days, but then even in the Navy, when I first joined, that coin trading coins like this, like that shit wasn't real, man. You didn't see people with like coin holders the size of a fucking big screen TV with 7,000 fucking coins on them because they're obsessed with trading them and shit like they're action figures. And it's like, that wasn't real. It was just like, I only got like a handful of coins and it was always like, on my very first submarine, I think I got a coin from my Cobb once, and I got one from my CO, and that was it. Those are the only coins I ever fucking seen before. And then next command, it was kind of the same thing. It was like when something significant happened, like if I got promoted or maybe like something else, like when I graduated college, like I graduated a culinary school and my chiefs came to the graduation, and I think one of them gave me, shit like that. You know, like somebody gave me a coin when I made chief, but like there was somewhere in there. I don't know. I don't remember exactly when. I feel like it's only been happening for like maybe like 10 years or less.
Yeah.
But God,
2016 when I went through,
it was, dude.
It had just started going through fucking bonkers. Before I made chief, I don't ever remember seeing any of that. I don't remember having a mess coin. Any of that.
I remember even in 2011, I remember that like a regional CPOA was selling their coin, and I remember being like disgusted. And I was like, why the fuck are they selling their coin? And then I started to see boat messes doing it because they could raise money to, instead of doing barbecues, they could fucking sell their coins and shit. And I'm like,
and there it goes back to that CPOA.
These are for, man. Yeah.
It goes back to that whole let's make money.
Yeah. Fucking gross.
It is. No, it's, oh man. We were talking about coins and I totally forgot about. I had something I wanted to talk about, then I forgot. I forgot now.
Oh, you got a list, bro. You have a list. Oh, it was like something not on your list.
Yeah, there was something that popped up in my head. You know, but like, you know, we were talking about finding this balance of work and home. That is something that like every season I talk to selects or any season I talk to people in general. It's like I fucked up during my season and past my season where I kind of drank the fucking Chiefs Kool-Aid. And nobody stopped me to the point where it fucked up my marriage for a bit, you know. And that's what I was. I kind of.
Like, I mean, like, what was the behavior? Is kind of what like. What do you mean by drinking the Kool-Aid? Is what I'm asking.
It was like not pushing back, taking everything that they said as face value. I think. You know, it was kind of like, oh, I'm gonna do every mess function. I'm gonna go to every mess function. I'm not gonna sit there and spend the time with my wife. At the time I picked up chief, I had I had a son that was 7 months old, and my wife was going to college at night, and I'm over there fucking blue, 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 Navy chief, Navy pride. Yeah, you know. And granted, I loved that part, and I loved the whole thing about it, and I loved being able to help people. But what I try to instill in them now is like, you walk out that door, that shit's got to stop. Yeah. When you go home, unless it's an emergency, you need to be fully invested in your family.
Right.
Because.
And that, like, it doesn't stop, like, there either. Like, it's because this is something I talked a bunch about when I did some of the transition episodes. It's like, it can't be who you are, man. It just fucking can't. It can't be for the reasons you just described, and it can't be because someday you're not going to do it anymore. Like this ends for everybody, and like whether you do like 10 or you do 30 something, you know. I mean, the MCPON I think does like 42 generally, but even then, it's like but it ends. You know what I'm saying? Like it ends eventually, and so it's like at some point, like you need to confront the fact that you being a Navy chief is not your fucking identity, no matter how long you get to put it off. Even if you put it off until you're at the very top of the food chain and you're the retiring as the MCPON, then you get to retire, go home, and figure out who the fuck you are without that. And it's like, so when I talk to people, I tell them the same thing, but I'm like, dude, this is not who you are. This is what you do. And I understand how it can get confusing because there's an immersion, like based
6 weeks of shit. Yep.
Not only that, but like just what the Navy demands of you, man. Like, so like when you're on deployment and you're either on the Ike or you're in Iraq or Afghanistan, it's like when are you not that? Like, when are you not doing it? You know what I mean? Like my chief season, except for the last 3 days, was underway on deployment on a special project submarine. And so it's like, it's full immersion, bro. Like there's no escape. Like you're fucking trapped with these motherfuckers. So it's like, but so you can get like to a point where it's almost like you feel like it is who you are because it's all you fucking do. It's all you think about. It's all you talk about. Like the people that you're spending most of your social time with are these same motherfuckers that you're at work with. And it's like,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I get it. I understand how people go there, but it's like you have to really like compartmentalize and learn how to differentiate what you do professionally from who you are as a human. And I think a big part of that is spending time learning like what like about leadership generally, but about things like emotional intelligence and like just some general shit about how psychology works and stuff like that, because then you'll very quickly understand it's like no, this is effectively a job. And I understand it really is like it's a higher calling than that, and I understand that, and it is very different. Like for me, this was very much like a pursuit of like a cause, but it was still not who I am as a human. Like who I am as a human led me to this profession, but that doesn't mean that the profession is my identity. And people need to figure that out before they move on, because it's like an existential crisis when you retire and you're like, who am I? What do I do now? You know what I mean? And a lot of people go through that, and that's what drives a lot of veteran suicide is like, you don't, you have no sense of belonging to anything. Like you have no tribe, you have no people. And because of the conditioning that happens over a career, and even just like a really highly intense like enlistment, if you get out and then separate, you feel like a fucking alien, man. I was going to school full time at a university locally, and it's like I didn't feel like I could relate to a single fucking person there. And then I walked into the student veteran center, and there's some Army vet kid, and I mean, he's probably in his mid-20s, and he didn't even fucking say anything. And I walked in, and I'm just like, oh, thank God. Like, talk to me, dude. Like, just I need to talk to somebody that's not a fucking one of these people. And it's just like they don't understand. They just don't. Like normal people don't get it. But when you remove yourself from the military suddenly, and you don't have any kind of like a plan or a support structure to deal with the loss of that community and like the sense of belonging to that organization. And then you get into like some of the guys that were deployed and doing combat shit. It's like the high speed, high energy, high octane environment that they were in. It's like how to spin down from that and replace the feelings that they would get in doing those things with like something else. Like, because it's like you hear combat vets talk about that shit, and they're like, it's like the rest of life is like I was operating at a 10 for a long fucking time, and then I get out and it's like everything's at like a 3, and he's like, I need something to fucking, you know what I mean? Like I don't feel alive. And so like, there's a lot of things that I feel like well, I mean, I don't know that it needs to be exactly that, but you see a lot of guys like get into like adrenaline junkie shit, or they get into like combat sports, or they get into something, and it's something to scratch that itch. And it's like, I mean, you know, like there's that function of it too, that you need to like learn how to spin down from being at a 10 and all of a sudden you're not, and this is real life now, and how the fuck do I deal with this? Because it's like it's a crazy transition, but effectively like learning how to just be cool with being yourself and being able to keep that separate from what you do professionally. It's very difficult to do in the military, but it's like, you got to figure that shit out. And that's, I tell every chief select I ever talk to, man, I'm like, dude, this is not who you are. Like you are not chief whoever. You're just a dude, or you're just a chick doing a thing. And yes, it's important. And yes, it feels like sometimes it's everything, but it's not. And it's going to go away eventually. So like you give it the attention and effort and energy it deserves, but do it without losing yourself in it, because otherwise, like when you get to the end, and like you were saying, even while you're in it, your whole life can fucking blow up in a hurry. And I used to think that's why my first marriage ended the way it did. Turns out she just wasn't a good person. But but then even once I figured that out, I had a really healthy fear of allowing that to happen, because I was just like I've seen it happen to so many other people, and for a long time I felt like it happened to me, even though I think it's pretty clear that that's not what happened. But with my current wife, like I was post cancer, post all the mental health shit, post everything. I got a waiver and was like deemed deployable to go back to a submarine, and I was going to go be a chief of the boat, like to get on the CMC path. Yeah, that was going to happen. And I was talking to my wife about it, and I was very scared that like I was like, I only know how to do this job one way, and it's like fucking all in. And I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to balance it, like you were saying, like I wasn't going to be able to balance my marriage and the responsibility that I believe I have to all these people if I'm their cob. And I was like, me and my wife talked about it a bunch because she was afraid that I would like resent her and regret it for the rest of my life if I didn't do it, because I really wanted to do it. But in my mind, and I probably didn't do the greatest job articulating it at the time, which is why she felt that way. But like in my mind, like there was no doing it if I was going to lose my marriage. Like I'm just like it would fucking kill me if I was the reason why, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I was trying to figure out a way to like, how do I do both and not fuck this up? And so we talked about it a bunch, and I just, there's a constellation of reasons why I called it a day, not least of which was my physical and mental health being a dumpster fire. But it was like, I made peace with not doing it, not needing to do it. Making Master Chief helped a lot. Like it was very validating, and it kind of checked, like it wasn't exactly where I wanted the finish line to be, but like it was kind of like I felt like I had accomplished like the last thing that I needed to, and it was very validating in that way. And then one of my mentors told me, like, he's like, it was a 2-part answer to this. Like we were having this conversation about this topic. I mean, we were talking about, we were both survived head and neck cancer. And so we were talking about that, our experiences with that. And then we got into this, and he was like, and I mean, he was the only person on earth that could have said this to me, because he was my cob and he was the CMC, that he's the guy that made me a chief. Like he built me, like not just during the season, but like he had me for like 3 years after I made chief. And like, I am the leader I am because of this guy, like among other things, but like the chief that I was, like, he's the one that built me. And so like, he was the only person that could have said this to me, and it would have flipped the switch in my head. But he goes, dude, you would be a really great cob, but you don't have to be, you know what I mean? And that was it, dude. Yeah. Like all the turmoil in me and the weight I had on me about this responsibility I thought I had to people that thought I would be a good cob, or like the sailors I haven't even met yet whose cob I would have been, and just all this shit. It was like, it all just went away. And then it was like, okay, I can retire now. You know what I mean? And thank fucking God that worked out that way, because for sure my life would have imploded inside 6 months for sure. Like mental health, physical health. I would have melted down inside 6 months, and who knows what it would have done to my marriage. So it's like, yeah, thank fucking God. But I feel you. No, like
I 100% agree with you. I mean, I was glad that, it sucked going out on medboard, but I think it was the best thing for me, because I had that time where it was kind of like I could start pulling back. As soon as I started going through the process, I was like, I'm done. Yeah,
dude. I went to my last command. It was shore duty, and I was there for like 6 or 8 months, and then I was diagnosed with cancer, and COVID hit. Like I got diagnosed March 2020, like right when COVID was becoming a shit show. So it was like, it was its own adventure. But
I watched the world on fire from the boat.
Yeah, but everything shut off. Like, so all I did was cancer treatment. I didn't go to work for 6 months.
Oh, nice.
But like, also, neither did most other people. They were teleworking. I was traveling. I would go out on submarines and do inspections, but because of COVID, they weren't even letting us do that. So like, my team wasn't doing anything either. They were just like teleworking and fucking waiting for shit to get back to normal, I guess. So like, I got to spend 6 months doing that. So I got through the treatment, went back to work. They were still doing like COVID mitigation schedule shit. So I was working like half days every other day because I was still fatigued from radiation. And then I did like the Chiefs board shit not long after that. And then we did a handful of inspections once I was like back on like fit for full or whatever. And then the way that then I got put, the last 6 months I was on active duty I got put on limb due for mental health because of my brother and 2 nieces thing. So like I was already having issues. I was in therapy already for anxiety and insomnia and all this other shit that like but I was improving quite a bit. And then right when that happened, I went off a fucking cliff. And so I was on LMDU for the last 6 months. So I had like this 18-month period almost where I was just like decelerating. You know what I mean? Like I was just like everything. It was weird. Where you're coming from. Yeah, it was like I got to like spin down for a pretty solid amount of time and then just call it a day. And so it was like, and it still took like, I'm like you are, I'm like 2 years post-retirement here in September. Mm-hmm. And it's taken almost that entire time for me to feel like I found my footing and like I feel good now and I'm like happy a lot of the time and like I'm happy with where my life's at, like and like I feel kind of normal in this civilian like universe. I got a job recently doing DoD contracting shit, but I work from home.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's sick, dude. It's like I was aware of the job before now, but like it just worked out where like my old supply officer called me up and he goes, "Hey man, you still looking for a job?" And I was like, "Yeah, am I?" And he tells me he's got this gig where work from home doing like, they call it front end analysis. It's like training shit where we're like evaluating training needs based on a bunch of different shit. But
okay.
But it's like my boss's boss is my old supply officer. My boss is a senior chief that used to work with me. He was the ISIC while I was on one of the boats there. And then he retired. So he's a good buddy. I fucking love that dude. The other guy that does my job that I work closely with is the guy that I relieved at my last shore duty. So like, I know him really well and I've known him for over a decade. Great fucking dude. So it's like I got reinserted into this fucking timeline of my naval career where all the homies are around and I get to like see them all the time. But then I also get to work from home and it's like this job, it was like this job was built for me, dude. It's like, I'm so convinced we live in a simulation that's not even funny because like, how did this happen? Like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, because it's tailor made for like my speed at like, I don't think I could go to work for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week and function just because of my sleep and all this other bullshit. But I can get up and walk from across the hall into here and log into my NMCI computer real quick and check my email and do some shit. And it's I don't know, man. It's fucking perfect. So I don't know. I feel like I've found my place, I guess. You know,
it's kind of the same thing for me. We're working on base, working on the barracks all the time. And, we talked about PPOs before and all that stuff. So a lot of the BPOs and stuff for junior sailors. So sometimes they know, I'm a retired chief. And they sit there and ask me just like, oh, my chief this or my first class this. And I'm like, okay. Well, did you talk to them? No. Well, why didn't you talk to them? He's like, I didn't want to. He might tell me no. And I'm like, well, give the guy a fucking chance.
Yeah.
If he fucking screws it up, okay, go find somebody else.
Yeah.
You gotta, and that's what I kept telling them. And most of them know, this, that, or the other. I'm retired, chief, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I call them by their last name. I call them Mr. or Miss. I don't call them by their rank. I don't do any of that shit.
Right.
It's like, no. I'm going to treat them like a person and all that stuff. The only time I ever really get in their ass is like, I got an emergency. I got this shower that's overflooded, and then they make me wait 45 fucking minutes. And I'm like, hey, asshole, I'm going to call twice.
Right.
And I know if they call a second time and they're not there soon, I'm going to go back over to their office and find the chief and go, hey, what the fuck, bro?
Yeah.
But no, it's a lot of that stuff. And I love the fact of what I do because every day is different. It's a lot of the barrack stuff, but it's not production. I get to get out. I'm outside. I'm out, doing this. I'm doing that. I was doing stencils today. Tomorrow I'll be doing something different. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who cares? But it's always, for me personally, I won't say it's fun. It's fun. I go to work, and then half the guys I work with are, a couple of guys as Army guy, so we always be telling off-color jokes and shit like that. My wife be seeing them, and she's like, She's like, there's something wrong with you, and I'm like, no, there's not nothing wrong with us. It's just we're weird.
Just it's
we're weird. Just leave it be.
it's just how it works, man. Like, yeah, it's there's something about being around it that is like cathartic, you know, like I was looking at getting a job at the shipyard locally just for that reason. It's like, I think it would be good because I was doing I was sleeping all day and staying up super late, and like, because I didn't have any forced structure to make me get into a routine, even though I knew it would be good for me. But also, like, I think I just needed to be around it a little bit to like get a little hit of that drug, I guess. Yeah, like to like feel a little normal, because like it's hard to exist in a world where you feel like an outsider all the time. And it's like, and I would, like, the whole time I was going to school, there's only been like one person that I've become like kind of actual friends with it, because like I'm always the old guy in the room and they know I'm a veteran and I kind of got resting bitch face most of the time. So it's like I guess I'm not approachable, and I'm like, I am vocal in class. So like I'll push back on stuff and I'll ask questions and I'll challenge people on stuff. And so I think it can be intimidating too, because like I'm an adult and, you know, like I know a lot of shit and like I have a lot of life experience. And so I think they were, I don't know, like everybody acted like they were scared of me. And then this one girl was cool and just like, she didn't give a shit and was really nice to me. And it kind of like gave everybody else permission to like be cool with me. And then it was like, then it was kind of cool. And it was like, oh, cool. Now everybody's like not being weird. But it's like, you feel like a fucking alien, dude. And so it's cool. I think I just needed to be around, just a little. Like I go in one day a week for a meeting and I get to like shoot the shit with these guys, and so, like, I'll text with them sometimes too about whatever work stuff or email or whatever. So it's not like I'm not immersed in it, you know, and I don't think I need to be. It's just like I just needed a little, like, and then, like, the podcast gives it to me a little bit too sometimes, but sure. But I don't always do interviews, and then it's like it's not the same as in person either, you know what I mean? Like, no, it's cool, and it definitely helps, but knowing that I'm going to see the same person every week, I don't know, there's something about it it just fucking, and even just like driving on base and like, and cause I always go to the meeting and then I'll go to the commissary after on the main base, and go grab some shit. Cause I live like 30 minutes away. So it's like, I'm not, if I'm there, I'll go while I'm there, kind of thing. But I get to like go to it's the base I worked on for a good portion of my career. So like I get to be around, I get to walk around, I see submariners. So a lot of times I'll run into dudes I know, or like whether they're retired guys that I served with or just people that I worked with that are now they're in a different command doing other shit, that they were junior sailors and now they're first classes or chiefs or whatever. Like, it's cool. Like, I'll run into some people and get to talk to them for a minute and get to see them. And it's there's something about that's like, I don't know, it's comforting, and it's like, stabilizing, and makes you feel like, oh, I'm amongst my people. You know what I mean?
Oh, like, it's the same thing. You know, not so much for me in the barracks, but when I get out and work in a hangars or something, I always end up running into somebody. Or if I go to the commissary and then my wife's like, you went for a bread and you're gone an hour and a half. What the fuck were you doing? I'm like,
exactly. I ran into somebody.
Exactly. She's like, you don't get to go to the commissary anymore by yourself. You take the kid.
Yeah.
You can't be gone that long with a child.
I do that all the time. My wife's like, why the fuck are you home so late? And I ran into 3 people that I knew. And so like it took me 2 hours to get out of the next when I ran in there for like 5 things. But yeah, man.
No, it's the same thing on my end. You know, it's I feel that just like you were saying, just me going onto the base and just doing that stuff, it's kind of like 1 foot in or like a toe in. Yeah. And then 90% of it out, just enough so that
it's like a toe in.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Occasionally, I just want to like be like, all right, cool, well, I'm good.
You know, but no, it was some of the best things that I, happened to get that job and all that other stuff. I got one more. Okay, I just remember this. I got one more season story, and that's Well, this is kind of my fault, but you know how they always tell you, hey, like, if you're broke, you're broke. Don't be trying to do dumb shit.
Yeah.
Well, I did dumb shit, and I decided I wanted to participate on final night. Well, I got caught. And so they separated me in a tent for like 2.5 fucking hours by myself, staring at a fucking tent wall. And then my sponsor called my father-in-law, who's a retired LDO.
Okay.
And so he was the chief. And then my father-in-law come up there, and then he's like, "Hey, what the fuck?" I'm like, "God damn it," you know. And the funny part about it is he was in Vietnam. He was in all them conflicts back in the 70s up to the early 90s and stuff. And he picked up chief fucking 78. So shit.
Oh wow.
And so the anchors I got pinned with were his anchors.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I still have them. I put them away and all that stuff because I don't want them to ever get lost. But he come up to me and he was like, "Hey, what the," and he's asking me all these questions and, "Hey, what happened?" And I'm over there fucking crying in the corner. You don't need to be doing that shit to people, right? And then he's like, I got called, and he says, and I guess they told him to. I would assume they would told him to say this because I know my father-in-law well enough to know that that's not something that would come out of his mouth. They're like, he's like, "I came to pick up a chief, not an E7. If you're an E7, you can fucking walk home." And I was like, "Come on, man." That but that's exactly your face. Your face tells me. Why?
I've done entire podcasts on it, so I won't belabor the point. But it's like that whole concept is bullshit. Like it's the chief's responsibility to develop you. If you're not ready to be accepted on final night, they're the ones that failed.
Yeah.
Like, come the fuck on, dude. Like, I'll never understand people that like, and I think when some people say that, what they mean, like, cause there's a personal agency, right? Like the person that goes through the process, pins on the anchors, gets to decide at the end of the day what kind of chief they're going to be, right? And like, what kind of chief they're going to be is very heavily influenced by that experience during the chief season and the training and development that they get, which is why I harp on that so much. But like, if you're in a place where you have the tools or at least a good starting point and you're not doing it, then I think some people are looking at it like you're making a choice to suck, basically. And it's still it's a hard sell for me, but there are certainly people who have a like personal responsibility for like the decisions that they make that lead them to this place where they're not being a good chief, right? They're not doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. And it's more because they're choosing to do it the wrong way, or they're not like putting in the effort to like improve themselves. And so like the perception then becomes like, they're just a fucking E7, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's still a cop out. Don't get me wrong. But like, I feel like it's like a less severe, cop out, I guess. I don't know. I'm still not a fan of it, and I still don't think it's the way that it should be interpreted. But I think some people, and like, so your father-in-law being probably one of them, it's like the way he was looking at it is like, and he probably just said that to get you fired up too. But like, I don't know. Like, it's
he didn't want to. I don't think he wanted to do it, and I don't think he liked doing it.
Yeah,
because I talked to him after that, and he did not. He wasn't one of those guys that like to do the kind of fuck games. He was always like very business-like. So I think he did it because he kind of felt like he had to get me to that point.
Yeah. He had to get you
I don't over the finish line.
Move in the right direction. Yeah.
But I don't think that wasn't his thing. Yeah, that's not his thing.
That shit. Told me. That shit. I'll never stop. Like, just fucking eye rolling into like I can't. I just fucking can't, because it's like that's the most egregious it's the most egregious excuse for the leadership incompetence that is so random. Oh, yeah. It's like it's
you taught him to be that fucking way.
Right. If at the end of this process that is a husk of a leadership development like process, there's no training objectives, there's no substance, there's no fucking anything. And at the end of that, if they somehow don't get it, then, oh, well, you're just an E7 and you're not part of the club. It's like, what the fuck? Like, what are we doing? Like, this is a professional military branch. And within it, you have like this weird fratty cult thing. Like, what? That's not, what the fuck are we doing? It doesn't make any goddamn sense.
No, you should hear my wife. You should hear my wife. She was flipping the fuck. Like I was telling her I was going to talk about this, and she got on. She was mad. Not like she was just like very
just
frustrated with
up.
the.
Yeah.
Very frustrated. Oh, and I think, because we were talking about being a cathartic, going back and talk, or being back on the base and getting her toes dipped in. And one of the biggest things of like me trying to talk to you was, it's like, can I bring this stuff up and still be able to have some sort of being cathartic for me, and talking all this stuff and being able to, once we, stop the podcast, I'm gonna be able to go, whatever, because it's just.
But also, like, what I've found is like the stuff I talk, like the criticisms I have of the Chiefs mess holistically, and like the Chiefs season and the leadership of confidence, it's just all the things I talk about in relation to the Chiefs mess being dysfunctional and the things it needs to do to improve, and in my analysis, blah blah blah, is like almost like I've never gotten any meaningful pushback. I've had some people like post some comments, or I've gotten some emails where they're like, look, man, I love your content, I love what you do, but I disagree with you on this, and we kind of like they kind of give me their position on it, and whatever, and sometimes I talk about it on the podcast, sometimes I just email back and forth with them or whatever, but like I've never gotten like vitriol. I've never gotten like a you're a fucking idiot, you don't know what you're talking about, you're not a real chief, or any of that bullshit. And what I've found is individual chiefs are the ones listening to the podcast, so that individual chief processes this information and almost universally agrees with it. And it's like it's when they're together collectively that it becomes a problem. And I think some of that is just the culture. And some of that is there's a bunch of old heads out there still that aren't listening to me talk about it, right? So like if they did, they probably would provide me with some pushback, maybe. But I've had a lot of older retired dudes that were like CMCs that have been retired for over 10 years. They listen to the podcast and they tell me like, dude, this is fucking awesome. So it's like, it begs the question, like, okay, well then why the fuck are we still doing this shit? If everybody's on the same page, it's like people need to start saying this out loud in their messes so that it can eventually become a more normal practice to at least criticize it, at least call out shit that is dysfunctional and doesn't make sense, and ask why and what's the reason, what's the training objective, whatever. So that you can then like start having those conversations, find solutions, find better ways to do things, whatever. But like what I've found is most people, they at least agree with the fact that it's broken and that it needs a significant overhaul to be accomplishing any of the things that we need it to. And whether they agree with how I think it should be done or not, everybody seems to agree that it's broken and we need to fix it. And so like what I've found is like you go on base, if you were to go on base and like somebody like, oh, hey, I saw you on the podcast or whatever the fuck, it's like I don't think you're gonna ever end up in a place where like you're like uninvited from the clubhouse or some bullshit. Because it's like I don't think because I really don't think that there are that many chiefs out there that believe what I'm saying is bullshit, or believe that the conversations that we're having are bullshit. And whether they agree like with all of it or not is not the point. The point is, if you agree there's a fucking problem and I'm talking about it, then we're on common ground, and nobody's going to give you the type of like rejection that a lot of people would be afraid of. And I was super afraid of when I first started the podcast. And I mean, I wasn't going as hard as I do now back then, because I was a chief when I started it, and I was at like 15 years in, and I'd been a chief for about 5 of those. And so like, I didn't feel like I had the authority to like indict the whole Chiefs mess, but now I do, like, you know what I mean? And like, so, I wasn't going as hard back then, but I was still being critical of the way the Chiefs mess did certain things. And I was afraid there was going to be like, torches and pitchforks at some point.
Yeah, directly affect your career and all that shit.
Oh yeah, I thought at some point it would affect my career, if not just a whole bunch of chiefs coming at me sideways on the internet through the podcast points of contact, saying, "Who the fuck do you think you are, telling us how to be chiefs and blah blah blah, what do you know," shit like that. And it never fucking happened. And I got a significant following, and it still didn't happen, and it still to this day hasn't happened. So yeah, I suspect that the case is most chiefs at least agree there's a problem. So yeah, I don't think you're ever going to get to a point where you're not going to be able to go on base and like and have that catharsis happen. It's like, no, like that's you're not, I don't because I think most people are in agreement that there's something very, very wrong here. Like, and we need to do something about it. So yeah, man.
It's we got to do something. I just don't know what we're gonna do.
This is what I'm doing, man. Like I came to the conclusion that because people kept telling me, I can't wait till you're a force. I can't wait till you're the fleet. I can't wait till you're the MCPON or you're my Cobb and CMC or whatever the fuck. And I just came to this conclusion that, yeah, 100%. I came to this conclusion that while I was stop looking, dude. My dog's looking at his paw. I came to the conclusion that while I was on active duty, I could only directly influence what was within arm's reach, right? And then as soon as I left, any influence I had left with me, and things would revert back to the status quo. And so I basically just made the decision, and that would scale up, but it would still be true if I became the fucking MCPON. Like, yeah, okay, so my sphere of influence is the whole fucking Navy now. And maybe I can make some meaningful change in the 3 years I'm in that office. But then I leave, and all the influence I had on all the things leaves with me, and somebody can press the undo button on all that shit, right?
Yep.
But with this, I can teach people how to do the thing better, and then it can inform how the system functions and hopefully breed incompetence out of the system over time, and it'll start functioning better. And I think that not only like the influence that I have through this never goes away as long as I keep doing it. And even if I stopped publishing episodes, I could just leave it all up as a resource and it still exists for people to utilize. And so it's like, and even if I stopped doing it and took it down, it's like the people that have already listened to it have already learned from it, got what they could out of it, and it will hopefully influence the system for the better for years to come. And so it's like, yeah, I just got to the point where I was like, man, I can do more good doing this as a retired dude than I ever could as an active duty chief. And so that's just why I'm like, yeah, no, I'm fucking.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, even that was like one of the things that made me comfortable with retiring is like, because then the handcuffs are off too, man. I can talk about anything. Like I can do whatever I want, and it doesn't matter. Because like you mentioned, Captain Crozier getting fired earlier, and it's like everybody wanted me to talk about that when it happened, and I'm like, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole, bro. I'm on active duty. Hasn't been an investigation yet. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm like, nope. I'd be getting dragged into my CMC's office the next fucking day. I guarantee it. And he didn't even know I did this shit. But he'd find out, I bet. Yeah. Oh yeah. I didn't tell anybody, really until very close to the end. I told like people that were real close, in my orbit, and like I got found out by a bunch of people. Like, don't get me wrong. I had like dudes that just like somebody referred told them about the podcast and they listened and they're like, I fucking know this dude. And then I would get a text and be like, do you have a fucking podcast? Like before I was doing YouTube and putting my face on it and shit. And I was like, how the fuck did you find out? Or I'd be like, it happened a few times. I was out on a boat doing an inspection and I'd have some chief walk up to me and be like, man, I love the fucking podcast. And just cause he knew me and somebody had told him, or he just recognized my voice or whatever. I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. I'm fucking working here. Like, shit, I don't want to have to explain this. And it wasn't like I was embarrassed of it. It was just like, I didn't want to be DGUTS on the ship. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to be people like, this isn't the time for that. I'm here as this guy doing this thing. I can't do that right now. And that's why I didn't want to intermingle the two. But like, yeah, it for sure people figured it out. But I didn't tell, I basically didn't tell anyone I did it. Until close to retirement, like pretty close to calling it a day. And then I started letting people know that I was doing it, and more liberally, because I just didn't care anymore. Like once I had approved retirement, I was just like, what are they going to do? Fire me? Like, who fucking cares?
Take the way
I'm already I'm at my terminal pay grade and I have approved retirement. I'm invincible. Like I'm fucking, you can't do anything to me. And so, yeah, it was, I mean, I guess if I had murdered somebody, they could have like canceled my retirement or something, but
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, man. Let's wrap this shit up, dude.
Yeah.
I fucking appreciate you doing this.
Yep.
This was fun as fuck. Yeah, and dude, we could totally do it again at some point. If like, because like I know there'll always be more shit to talk about for sure.
Oh yeah.
And so like if something ever pops into your mind that you wanna jump in on, or like I'll eventually, like I'm trying to get better with my time managed, like because I'm finishing school at the end of August. And then I'll have more bandwidth to like do interview coordination type shit, because everybody loves the Goats After Dark episodes, but they're so goddamn hard to coordinate because I need to get 4 people in the same place at the same time, and most of them are in different time zones, so it's like it's always difficult to figure out. Like they're trying the girls that did the Chick Chiefs one are trying to, like, they just started messaging today about trying to coordinate it, and Christina's moving across the country right now, and fucking it's like, it's hard to coordinate those things, but I'll have a lot more time to do it. So like, yeah, some shit like that, or I don't know. Something
always hit me up. I mean, if I see something on there, even if it's just a quick, 30 minutes, or hell, I was even thinking about there was a couple things that I thought that oh god, what's this, Trey from Hey Doc, I listen to all that stuff, and
nice.
It's just
that's awesome. He'll love to hear that, man. He's always asking me, can you send me the metrics, like have you heard any feedback? Like
no, I like what he does, because I just learn. For me, it's just it's a couple guys, and I learned about Corman. I learned how their leadership isn't much different than ours, and it doesn't really leaders a leader, whether they're good or fucking bad.
He's a sharp kid too. I'm a big fan, because like he was all worried when he first started it, because he was like real monotone and not a voice for radio exactly, but but like we worked through it. Like he recorded a first episode, and then I gave him some feedback, and he redid it, and then we chopped it up and did some shit, and he's gotten a lot better over time.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But
I've been hearing him since the start. What about the other two? Are they coming back, or it's Ariana and
I don't know. So Ariana's got a lot going on outside of like podcast world and life generally, that she's so I know she definitely wants to, but like just she's got her work life there's a lot of demand on her right now. And then Desiree is like working through some stuff too, that like I don't think she, like I haven't actually talked to her about it a lot. Like the last time we talked about it, she said she intended to come back around to it at some point, but then some other things have happened since then, and it just hasn't come up. Like we've just been talking about like hey, how you doing kind of shit. So but I am talking to somebody that is working on an idea for like a Navy news podcast, where they're going to like just current events and shit that's going on, and maybe some shit they find on Reddit or something, and present it as kind of like a fun version of like if a nav admin comes out, they'll like make it digestible for an E3 that's never going to read a nav admin. You know what I mean? And like, what does this mean for you? Why should you give a shit? And stuff like that. And it was going to be two female chiefs were going to be doing that one. One of them is a HT, a hull tech, and then the other one's a CT. Yeah. I don't know. Nice. I keep checking in with them. I don't know where they're at with it, so I guess I can put them on the blast at the end of an episode and be like, "Hey, what the fuck?" But I'll send them this clip and just be like, "Hey, where's this fucking podcast? Your homework's late." But yeah, no, and I mean they're just busy people, and they're in different places too. So it's like just figuring out how and when to do it and all that bullshit. They're both moms, so it's like, you know what I mean? Like life is always gonna try to get in the way of shit like this. And I'm a childless married dude that's retired and works from home. So like, what fucking excuse do I have? But they're still active duty. They're both moms. They're both like, they're in different places. So it's like they're passionate about it, but they're also very busy people. So hopefully I can get that one rolling. But yeah, man. And like, and I'm always open to it, the ideas. So like, I always put it out there for people, like, like I'll publish podcasts and the thing for me is like, I tell people like even if it's a one-off, like I feel like people get intimidated by like the concept of starting a podcast and doing it like Trey's doing it. He's remarkably consistent.
Yeah, he is. It's like every week.
But he loves doing it. Yeah, he loves doing it. And so he's very consistent and on top of it. But I'm like, you don't have to commit to doing your own series and fucking like doing it on a regular basis. You could do a series and just like drop one-offs whenever the fuck something strikes you and you have time, or you could just do literally like a podcast and that's it. Cause like some people just have one thing they want to get off their chest, and that's cool too. Cause like what I really wanted was like Proceedings magazine that gets published through USNI. It's like, people just submit essays or letters or op-eds or whatever the fuck, and it's like, but they don't do it every week. Like they just do it whenever something strikes them and they want to write. And so that, like, in my mind, I'm like, that's kind of what I wanted to turn the platform into, was just like, you could just drop me a fucking pot, like just send me something.
No,
I'll
I
listen to it, and if I
agree
think
with you.
yeah, if I think it adds value for my listeners, I'll publish that shit. And it can just be a one-time thing. It can be sporadically. It could be, you know, a whole series. It could be whatever, you know, like,
you know, I'd talk about like going mental health with the VA. Oh my God.
All right. I hope y'all enjoyed that. We had a good time talking. We chatted it up a little bit before and after too. So that was cool. It definitely like, so obviously a unique like career arc, having started in the Army and then got out and joined again in the Navy and doing something completely different. And like I found it interesting to get another perspective on somebody. Like you get so many data points on the chief season's effect on people, and how just like unfocused, listless, uninformed, and just largely this like ad hoc shooting from the hip, like initiation thing, like almost copied and pasted from like rushing a fraternity or something. It's I just get more and more and more frustrated and disappointed in the fact that we're not even really trying to do better than these kinds of stories. I think that any change you see is driven more by people's negative view of the Chiefs season and pushback in relation to certain things that happen most years, where like the things that get safety stand downs spun up or generate Navy Times covers. It's like you get like those things are the catalyst for change, and it's the change is driven by a need to like manipulate public perception and make some, you know, boss happy than it is actually making a robust leadership development and education platform for chief petty officers. Weird. Like, let's train and qualify them to do their actual job. Let's do it that way. And what's interesting is like right now I'm doing what's called front end analysis, and I'm just kind of like starting to learn how it all works and get like I'm involved in my first project now, helping a guy out with what he's been doing for a while, and it's like I get to learn like what it is about like when a process, and this is all Navy specific, like when a process needs updating, or we need to create solutions so that people are properly trained and qualified to do a thing or operate a piece of gear or conduct maintenance on that gear, or both, or you have to like add a new competency to a training pipeline for someone or whatever. The job I'm doing now is like I get to like do those analyses and then like make recommendations and stuff. So I'm very much looking forward to learning all that, because I think it, you know, I think it obviously directly applies here. Is like I could use some of those abilities that I'm going to gain by like doing this in practice, and kind of I'm gonna probably like overlay them onto what I see the Chief season being, and kind of I don't know, write a white paper or a point paper or something about, because I've always wanted to do that, and it's like now I've kind of got this really cool structure to do it within that apparently is what the Navy already uses for things like this. So I'm like, oh, all right, let me do this. So yeah, I'm looking forward to learning more as I slowly acquire skills and knowledge through experience in this new job. But yeah, the Chief season, it's like there's too many cases like this where I just can't, man. I just can't. Like it's almost entirely dependent on you getting lucky with the constellation of chiefs that you happen to have at that time, and the sum of those parts is the strength and culture in the mess. It's like, you know, like, it shouldn't be that way. There should be a pretty consistent model and curriculum for the way that we do these things. And it's like, yeah, there will always be varying degrees of quality based on delivery because the constellation of chiefs that are in that mess and the way that they deliver and everything else. But it's like, it'd be like more like NLD. It's like, you know what you're getting. There's a plan, there's training objectives, there's a curriculum, there's tools, there's qualified facilitators. Like, they go through a process to get qualified to do the thing before doing it. And so it's just like, everything about it would translate to a much better product if it was done that way, but it's not. So anyway, there's my rant about the Chiefs season for today. But I hope y'all enjoyed that. If you need anything from us, hit us up. Don't Give Up the Ship Podcast at gmail.com. You can Facebook message us, Don't Give Up the Ship Podcast, or you can DM us on Instagram, Reddit, or Discord at dgutspodcast. If you want to support us, you can go to dgutspodcast.com. There's a donate button in the upper right-hand corner of the website, or you can just click shop and it'll redirect you to Don't Give Up the Ship Apparel. It's dgutspodcast.com. Just get yourself some naval pride and heritage gear you'll actually wear in public. Got stickers and shower shoes and bags and t-shirts and hoodies and all kinds of cool stuff. And then you can go to patreon.com/dgutspodcast. Pick one of the 5 tiers. Become a member today. Buy me a coffee. You know, $5 a month. Easy day. It's nothing. You won't even notice it's gone, but it helps. It helps a ton. And then if you can't afford to spend any money, you can go to all of the platforms for all the things. So like, follow us on Instagram, share the podcast, subscribe on YouTube, consume it that way so we can get monetized. All the things, like just reviews, tag your friends, whatever's convenient for you. Click the button or leverage the thing and share it or review it or subscribe to it or follow us or whatever. It all helps, and it's all free. Including just listening, which we really, really appreciate. And that's it. That's what I got for you today. Thank you so much for listening, and don't give up the ship. Hey, shout out to all our level 5 patrons, Victoria Livingood, William McIver, and Mark Galagos. To all our other patrons, we really appreciate your support. Helps to pay all the bills, expand the platform, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. Please hit the like button, drop a comment down below on what you thought, and subscribe to the channel.